All right. Well, let's welcome our audience. Hello, I am Dan Mora, and this is my co-host, Frank Smithson.
Hey, everybody.
Say hello, Frank. Frank, how are you today?
Doing good. Just wrapped up the cheer season for my daughters, so wife and I and the family are going to have a lot more time to do other things on weekends. So
Awesome.
excited.
Cheer kids. How old are they?
10 and 12.
10 and 12.
Yeah, really close to 11 and 13.
Gotcha. Yeah. My weekend, I played with my new dog. It was fun.
I need to come and check that out. Parvo's all done, all that.
That's a good question.
How many months?
She's a little over 4 months.
Okay. I think it may be 5.
Super fun, yeah. Well, today we are going to be continuing on kind of our introductory phase and specifically talking about Gemini history. I think our audience really, maybe they care, maybe they don't, but I think the ones that care, we should give them the straight story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds fair.
That work for you? If we get to it, we'll talk about some more industry stuff, but when you're ready, let's do this.
Sweet. Okay, so for people out there that don't know, how would you explain workers' compensation to that type of individual?
Right. Okay. So we are in California, and labor laws developed in the early 20th century, 1920s, and the teens. It was pretty significant time for labor law to develop. Before there was labor law, basically, you had folks that would get injured at work, and what would happen was they'd just be thrown out on the streets, and they didn't have much rights except to sue. Now, they could sue in what's called tort, and it's torturous. Tort is short for torturous. And it can be designed it is designed to get pain and suffering, basically, is how tort law works. And employers came to the table when labor laws were being developed. Employers came to the table and said, we're okay with having taking care of injured workers as long as there's some limitations and we get what's called exclusive remedy. So exclusive remedy just means that if they carve out law in a particular area, that law has protections to stay. Any matter can stay within that type of law, and exclusive remedy means it can't be penetrated for most ordinary cases. So what happened, and I forget the exact year, but the California Constitution put an amendment forth that created again, this new type of law. It's called workers' compensation. It would allow employees to get taken care of without fault. So it's a no-fault system. There'd be no blame, who did what, how did the injury happen, and in trade for that, being taken care of, they then traded their rights to tort law. And employers were on board. So really the stakeholders in workers' compensation are injured workers, and of course, them and their families. And then you have employers. So that's where that started.
Interesting. Okay, so definitely interesting to hear your perspective on the creation of workers' compensation, what it is today. So copy services. That's a lot of what Gemini does. Same question. What would you tell a layman what a copy service is?
Yeah. Copy service is kind of the inside term for what we do. We are a licensed bonded deposition officer to the court. The court issues subpoenas for the purpose of gathering evidence. And the court makes the form, and what's happened and how it's transformed is that the court makes the form, but we then, obviously with the digital age, we've taken that form with the judge's signature, and what we have developed is an entire process that gets evidence gets evidence for the party in the case. Now, we work with specifically the plaintiff side of the case, what they call applicant in workers' compensation. And we'll take that subpoena, we issue it on behalf of the law firm, and that subpoena compels the custodian of records to give those records to us. Yeah, so that's the really basic term in the Business and Professions Code, the California Business and Professions Code. There's an explanation of what this is, and it's called professional photocopier. That designation or that term, it carries with it some privacy expectations. That's why it's in the Business and Professions Code. It actually outlines a little bit more. It's a little bit more specific about what we do. That then is transferred. That role is outlined in the California Evidence Code. It's outlined in the California Labor Code. It's outlined in the California Code of Civil Procedure. In those codes, it weaves a picture of what we're tasked to do. We issue subpoena duces tecum, which is a very specific type of subpoena, which means to appear with records. Now, that is, again, there's all of this, the statute, which is what the laws are called, statutes. All the statute outlines the nuances, specifically like who's supposed to be served with that subpoena, what it is they're supposed to do with it, how they're supposed to react with it, how are we supposed to interact with the custodian, and then ultimately they're to produce records, in our case with the subpoena duces tecum. There's an exception, again, it's the Latin or way that it's termed is to appear at court with records. Now, we don't require in again all those statutes and those regulations, we're not requiring folks to appear if they just send us the records with a signed affidavit. So it's what I call a legally compelled process that certifies evidence for the court to use, for the different parties to use. Yeah,
for sure. So moving to Gemini, I'm assuming there's something to do with workers' compensation and copy service. So what is it that Gemini does in its most simplest of terms?
Yeah, and that's what we do in most simplest terms. Now, we have other types of legal support products and services, but our primary and what we've been doing since 2004 is obtaining evidence for cases. Yeah, so that's a very simplest way to describe what we're doing. Is going and obtaining evidence for cases, for workers' compensation cases.
Yeah, that's definitely been our backbone, and now we're moving into a place where trying to support much more of that law firm's needs, right?
Yeah, definitely. Law firms need a couple of other things in workers' compensation. They need interpreting services when their injured worker needs help understanding a doctor or understanding the case. Interpreter services are necessary. There's also a retraining, a vocational retraining benefit that injured workers get, and that's in the form of a voucher after the case is settled. So we've been helping injured workers and obtain that benefit too for now several years. How does it help the law firm? I mean, that's pretty, if you have a happy injured worker, they get back to work. The idea is that that's a referral source, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's good for the community for sure. Getting
huge.
people back to work. That's like the whole idea with workers' compensation, right? Like to
take
care of them and help them be productive members of society.
Yeah, I think that, for sure that's, at least personally, I don't know about you, but I've experienced, I had a family member that was out of work for some time, and it was hard to see and watch this person's family member of mine. It was like a downward spiral. I do think we're made to work. I think we're made to be productive and contribute to something bigger than us. And I know, I feel in my heart, and I know that a lot of people would agree that work is just a vital, part of our psyche,
For sure.
Yeah.
I had a work comp injury when I was younger, working at the grocery store. I was out for 18 months with a back injury.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, went through the whole work comp system and all of that.
Kind of knew that. I just didn't know it was 18 months.
18 months.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It was like, but thinking back on it, I was like putting myself through school. I used the money, I think it was a little different with some other SP 899 is probably back when I got it. And I got to use the money to put it towards my education that I was already in, like going to college and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but if I was to get that type of injury now, like that's like life altering type stuff, being out of work for 18 months.
Yeah.
When you have a family to run, doesn't seem like something you'd want to do.
Yeah. Did you get representation?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was probably important. I mean, this industry is really complex. This process is pretty complex. You almost need a professional to guide you through it. I think that everybody would recommend that.
Yeah. I probably would have, now that I know all the attorneys, I probably would have picked somebody different, but, it worked out for me, got me through, and I'm totally healed now. So, 100% back to normal. Although I think I'm 20% disabled according to the state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting, right? Like the impairment rating or whatever. Let's see. So next up, why does copy services exist?
Yeah, so it kind of goes with the question after that, like why attorneys don't do this themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the short term is the short answer of this is that the labor code has provisioned that this type of work is paid separately from the settlement. So attorneys get paid on the settlement of the case. They get paid based on, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to probably butcher this a little bit, but the future medical, the value of the future medical, and the value of the past medical and the injury. I'll just say that very basically. They get paid out of that. It's a percentage. 15%, I think, is the cap right now, and I've heard that people are getting up to 16% on that settlement. And we, as a copy service, as a professional photocopier, as the process for getting evidence for the attorneys for the case is paid separately from that. So basically, an attorney would not get paid to do what we do. We get paid as a matter of what's called medical legal. So what that means is, as the case is progressing, the case needs things in order to flesh the case out, including medical evidence, but also treatment. So both of those things, treatment and evaluations and records, all are underneath the umbrella of what's called medical legal fees, and those fees are paid per fee schedule. Yeah, so that's the short answer why attorneys don't do this. Yeah, that makes...
Well, and they can do it if they wanted to, but
That's
it's also
true.
very burdensome, like the work that has to go through to actually get the medical community to comply with the subpoenas, and then going beyond that to get the insurance company to actually pay for that work without saying, hey, it's, there's objections here and objections there. And
yeah, I think that what has happened over, as with anything, the over time, the complexities start to mount in any sort of industry, in any sort of profession, and this is no exception. This is an incredibly complex system. Again, if you're an injured worker, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but you would need to get the best representation that you can so that it can help you navigate through your injury and such. But the complexity requires subject matter experts. Yeah, and we've built a business around it, around that subject matter expert of obtaining evidence for these cases of mostly medical records. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So Gemini is a California company. How does this copy service and other legal support things that we offer, how does it differ throughout the rest of the United States?
Yeah, great question. California workers' compensation has I would say, a poor reputation for being incredibly expensive. It's really, really expensive. Though the industry itself has very strong representation. So some some states, so let's just start there. Every state is different. They have their own way of doing this. Again, ours is baked into the California Constitution, how this works. So Arizona is different than California, Nevada. They're all have done their own flavor of this. So it could be similar in some states. To be honest, I just haven't studied how other states do it, but I do know that the reason that we're not in other states is it hasn't penciled out for us. What we do is because the rules are the same, or because the rules are very different, we've built the whole entire business around the rules of California. And my philosophy is let's stick to that and get it right, before we even think about going somewhere else. But yeah, it's different in different states. For example, a work injury, even in California, employers are required to have workers' compensation insurance. So if somebody gets hurt, there's no question. It's like auto insurance is required. Same for California employers. So insurance companies, they have power. They have a say in how the industry operates. And in other states, there's very it's control. It can be controlled very heavily by the insurance companies, and some states even don't allow professional representation by the injured workers.
It's like 100% insurance, right? Like kind of like a car, right? You get into a car accident, it's insurance companies. It's rare to get an actual lawsuit going beyond that, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's for the best in California in the respect that you see folks and that this is a complex industry, and for them to navigate. I mean, you could say the same for auto accidents. I think that the representation. Well, you do have outside representation in that. It's part of tort law, personal injury when you get hurt in an accident. It's just different in every state, and we've specialized in California though.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah, so next we're going to talk about the history of Gemini. It's going to be a good time.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster ride we could talk about.
Yeah, lots of, we've been in business almost 18 years, since 2004. And the history of any business is one of a roller coaster.
For sure.
It's just a learning adventure is kind of how I look at it. We've had some tough times. We've had some really fun times, some great times. All of it in total has been an incredibly rewarding journey. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Just like a roller coaster. Whee!
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's break right now. And Frank, thanks for being on the show. And
thank you.
We'll talk again next week.
Sounds good.
All right, man.
Peace.